So, just a little recap. There's a pasuk that says you should know the day and return to your heart that Havaya is Elikim. And before that, it speaks about going out of Mitzrayim and coming into Eretz Yisrael. And the Rosh Hashanah is asking, what is the connection between leaving Mitzrayim and going into Eretz Yisrael to this pasuk of knowing today and returning to your heart that Hashem is Elikim. And to answer that, it says we first have to analyze what does it mean that Havaya is Elikim, and that Havaya is Elikim, and he basically explained the differences between the name Havaya, which represents Gilui, unlimited flow, without any limitation, without any definition, and Elikim represents the opposite. It represents limitedness. It represents parts, differences, differentiations. It's a completely opposite function. So how could we say that Havaya is Elikim? That was his question. And now we're going into the second part of the Maamar, which is to explain this concept. So we begin at that arrow on your handouts, Acha Inyan. Like I said, try to hold the questions, and I have a little bit of I did do more prep this time, so I have some ammunition, and then it won't take that long, and then there'll be so much to download from it. Promise. Incredible transformational information. So here we go. Ach inyan hu de mibsari echzel lekaksiv. Like it's like to start, he says that it says, "From my flesh I will see God." Diksiv nasa adam b'tzalmenu. Let's make man in our image. Kidmusenu, like our form. Sha'adam nasa b'tzelem admos shalamayla. A person is made and created in the shape and figure of above. So from our own powers of our soul, we'll understand how it is on high. So I just want to point out that it's not just from our flesh, like, oh, the body is so amazing and it's so complicated and we understand that there's a God because how else was this created? It's way more. It's actually an exact, and whatever's happening on high, whatever that means, happens exactly in our whole system, and not just our physical body, but also our emotional and mental structure, and the way we function is exactly what's happening, and the way to understand what God is. And he will explain what he's talking about. So the more I observe my own system, the more I can understand this system on a much larger scale, maybe like a global scale, and then beyond that on a spiritual element. But the idea is really to, I think, I just see, it's more when I'm just observing what's going on. And when I'm observing, I get to really see a larger picture instead of getting focused on a detail. I'm kind of being an observer of my whole system. I get to understand a much deeper level. And what it's like on high. What does this mean? Okay, anyway. Behinik. B'koiches hanefesh, in our powers of our soul, yesh koyach hagilui v'koyach hagbala v'hester. We have two different powers. We have the power to reveal and the power to hide. And contract. Just like we spoke about this earlier, the brain power, not your physical brain, but actually where all your brain activity comes from, it has the power to have brain activity, thoughts, etc. Where does this come from? It comes from your power of brain, which is in your soul, which is the potential for many different revelations, brain revelations. Everything comes from this intellectual power, the power of intellect. So to explain that a little bit, I was thinking, let's take, for example, our body and its life force. Instead of using the brain, think of our life. What is our life? It's clearly not our body. So it's separate, but the way it's actualized is through me moving around. But my body never, my life is kind of unlimited and it's never really alive and never really dies. The fact is that I can give off life to others. We create children, and when we die, our life kind of continues because they're still living. And even in a more, I forget the word, whatever, but even in a more distant ideas, you're going camping and you urinate outside, you create mushrooms or whatnot, some type of life force, and that goes on forever. That it never dies. Your life is just all over the place. You don't even notice. So when we die, maybe our body dies, but our life is actually, the potential for life never goes away. It always remains unlimited in its life force. So the same thing is with our brain power. Yeah, we manifest our power of intellect in our brain, and then we can express an idea. But that brain power is an unlimited potential for any type of brain thought. Okay, makes sense? It's an unlimited power, and the way it expresses itself is in our brain. And there he says we have two powers. There's two functions. You have the ability to reveal your thoughts, and you have the ability to conceal them. And he's going to explain what it means. So I really should just be quiet because he explains everything. But so he has two powers. He has the power to reveal and to expose and to show, and he also has the power to limit. And this is all speaking in brain stuff and intellect. Because anytime we're going to have any type of reason, it has to have a limit. Which means it starts here, this reason, and it ends here. If we want to get logical, you can't just go on and on and on and on and on and on. It has to start here. This is where the logic begins, and this is where the logic ends. It's a limited reason. Let's go shopping. Why? Because we need clothes. Period. It's limited. I'm not going to go on and on and on. It's just, what are you doing? We need to limit this svara. If we go on with some type of reasoning more than necessary, then if you keep going on and on and on with reasoning without any limit, then it begins to bend, and then it's not so truthful anymore. It's not straight. It starts to take all different type of turns. Something, if you're arguing whether something is permitted or forbidden, you have to have limited, concrete reasoning. Some say it's okay to do this, some say it's forbidden to do this, and then we have whatever we decide based on the majority or whatever we decide to go with. But if if everyone's reasoning was just unlimited without any beginning and end, we would never reach a verdict. Like you're trying to make up psak and a halacha, you want to have a verdict, you have to have some reasons that say this, some people that say that, and then we'll decide who we're going according to. But it's a limited reason. It doesn't just keep going, and then you'll never get to any conclusions. In fact, that might be like a condition with a name. You know? I don't know what name, but if someone can't decide anything, because there's always like more to go on, it has a name, right? I'm sure there's something not OCD, maybe OCD a little bit, like there's no end, there's no limit, it's just why this or that, like, well, if we want to have a conclusion, then we have to limit the thought, that it starts here and it begins here and the rest we'll dismiss, like there's limits.
Hey, what are we explaining right now? What is this emotional for?
We're gonna, this is a human condition, what he's explaining, how our brain works. Because we're getting our intellect comes from the power of our intellect, which is unlimited. Kind of that's why I explained, like, our life is unlimited. Our brain intellect is also unlimited. So how do we have this process of all of a sudden that we can speak things that are just, they're limited? So in that power, it also has the power to limit its own reason so that it can be captured. Otherwise, it's just all over the place, and there's no way. And if you want to get to a verdict, you want to have anything, you want to make a decision, you have to limit the reasoning. It has to be limited. Should we go away for Shabbos? Well, it's nice to go away. I like to. I also like to stay home. Well, they're two different reasonings, that but they're limited reasons. It's not like, well, what do you mean it's coming from my brain power? It should be just like unlimited. Or we should go. We can go. Like, that's not a functioning system. Then there's a problem, or we made it a problem. But it seems to be a problem. It's a problem if your svaras aren't limited. They need to have limitations.
Yeah.
This is from here to there and no more.
Yeah.
And if like he said also, if you continue going on and on, you veer away from truth. You get lost and there's no...
You don't live, like Shabbos is here, we still didn't decide,
Yeah.
I guess we're staying home.
I don't know
Right.
like that.
This is recorded. Scratch from the record. V'chein. I think we all float through that occasionally. So
I
it's
think
just...
my sister would say, I have a sister like that.
V'chein. So here so this is giving us insight into how this is our system. This is not godly or spiritual. This is just psychology, I guess you can call it. V'chein b'mashpia makabel. And later in the Maimer, he's going to really get in real depth with this thing he's about to mention. But he mentions the same thing goes with the mashpia makabel, a giver and a receiver, or maybe you want to call it a teacher and a student. Beherchich shem mashpia, yitzamtim v'yalim v'yagel sichlei, b'chdei sheyiskabel el makabel, she'im yigal le'etzem sichlei, k'mo yishu etzlei lo yichol lakabel, tzarech lahalim be'etzem sichlei v'laz derak ma sheberkei. When you have a teacher and a student, and the teacher wants to give, or a parent and a child, any relationship where there's a giver and a receiver, where we're talking about where the giver's idea is way bigger than the receiver's, so he has to really hide his whole, what we were calling etzem until now, of his idea, and just give it over in the way that the receiver can handle it. Otherwise, it'll just be super overwhelming. And if you talk to our kids in the way we understand things, it would just be very, very confusing. They wouldn't get anything. So we dumb everything down. I can't really think of any examples, but you get what I'm saying. Or if you're a teacher in a classroom and you want to teach basic math, we don't talk about, if you have 1 plus 1 equals 1 equals 2. It's like, what do you mean 1 plus 1? So I pull out an apple and another apple, and it's not any more numbers, they're just two apples, which I don't know if that takes away really the etzem of the chachma, but it dumbs it down. Now they have something to chap. But then, it does, because later on you'll say, what's 1 plus 1? And they'll say, I have no, or later you'll take out one orange and another orange and say, how many oranges are here? Like, I have no idea. I know when there's one apple and one apple, that makes two. But they didn't get the idea. They're just, I took away like the etzem of the concept that 1 plus 1 equals 1. It's like one apple, and one apple makes two apples. I take two oranges, they'll have to like teach them again. The same, one orange, another orange, that makes two oranges. Like, but that's something that they can hold on to. If I would just say 1 plus 1 equals 2, you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't even know what 1 is. So, yeah. Okay, and then he says almost the same words again. Here's where I realize there's a little nuance. He also has to limit his seichel. So the first step is taking away, hiding the real essence of what he's saying, that he hides. And then he has to limit the seichel, that it doesn't get out of hand, so that the receiver can receive it. So it seems like the same thing, but I think what he's saying is the first step, the first process, two processes. The first one is to really hide the essence of what I'm saying, take that away and just give a little revelation. And the second is to even limit that little revelation into a good package. So I took away numbers, and now I brought it into like a packaging of their two apples. So I took away like the whole concept of numbers, I took away, and I packaged it that it's very limited. It's just one apple and another apple. How many do we have? And then the kid can actually hold on to something. So like the packaging is very important as well. Because if it's just too large of a seichel, then the receiver just will fly right over their head. They won't get anything. Okay, this is all very nice. He's explaining how the koyach hamaskal works, the power of intellect. Nimtza comes out. Shesh koyach hagbala lahagbil as a seichel. So what does come out? What do we see from here? We see that in our seichel we have the ability to really limit our intellect, to limit our brain. So where does this power to make such strong limitations come from? This too comes from our intellectual power. So from the same place where I have an unlimited potential of ideas, unlimited without any, it's just unlimited, like literally unlimited. From that same space, I have the power to filter and limit all my seichel. I have unlimited life, my life goes on, and from that same life force, I'm able to just put life into a little body. So there's two, like it has the power of unlimitedness and it has the power to limit. And so what are these in Kabbalistic terms? These are bechinas chesed degvora, shebekoyach hamaskal. Bechinas hachesedim shebekoyach hagalis, bechinas hagvora hu koyach hagvul hagol. So in Chassidus or in Kabbalah, chesed represents kindness, which means to just give and give and give, and gvora is strength, which means to hold back. And these are these two functions that happen in my seichel. I have so much to give and it's unlimited, and then I have the power to limit it and make it very defined, a defined thought that has a beginning and an end. So from this example, Yuvan Lamarli will understand on high, the base, shemas to Havai Velikim. These are the functions of Havai Velikim. Like we said the last two classes, that the name of Havaya is the ability, is unlimited, the unlimited flow, and then you have Shem Elikim, which is this thing that makes everything limited, beginning and an end. Where do these two functions come from? They both come from the infinite, the ultimate and endless infinite light of the etzem of Hashem. So just like if it wasn't clear that these are just two names of Hashem. These aren't Hashem. Hashem is not Havaya or Elikim. These are just two names of God which represents His flow and represents His limiting ability. And they both come from God alone. Just like from my own seichel alone, the same, from my flesh I see God as the same exact system. Just like my seichel is unlimited and I have the power to limit things, also from God alone there's the power of everything, which has no definition, and the power to limit things, and that's Havaya and that's Elikim. Yeah. Shaharei ha'ar davak ba'amar u'me'ein amar. Sorry. The kashem shekayach hagilus shehu b'chinas Shem Havaya nimshach matzah tzar. Just like the power of revelation, which comes from Shem Havaya, which is the level of Shem Havaya, comes from Hashem Himself. How do we know this? Because He used an example of light. Just like light comes from its source, like sunlight is exactly like its source, which is the sun. So too, this infinite light comes from an infinite source. The same exact thing is the ability to limit things and contract them. Which is Shem Elikim, so it also comes from Hashem, the same exact source. Just like His power is in limit. Like it says in the Veyodata that our Insaif, God is the ultimate completion. So just like He has, He's whole, He's completely whole. So just like He's able to be limitless, He's also to be limited. For if you want to say that God is just unlimited, He's not limited, He's unlimited, then I'm limiting Him to unlimited. So just like He has the power to be unlimited, He has the power to be limited because He's unlimited. Just like He has the ability to be unlimited, He has the ability to be limited. And that's where this famous question comes from. Can God create a rock that's too heavy for Him to lift?
Is that a famous question?
Yeah, never heard it either.
So, I guess maybe an answer would be that yes, He could create a rock that He can't lift, and then He could lift it. Because He's unlimited, so he of course He created a rock that He can't lift. Because if He couldn't create a rock that He can't lift, that would limit Him to something.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so it's a brain teaser. Yeah. And this is what Shem Elikim does. It is the ability to make things limited, and it comes from our Insaif Atzmos. It also comes from Hashem. The same exact source of infinite flow without limitation is the same source for limitation and for creation and everything that's defined. V'imkein. V'imkein. Ma'achad Hashem Elikim hu b'chinas atzmos Insaif mamet k'moy Hashem Havaya imkein muvan eich Hashem Elikim in Mastir Hashem Havaya. Now pay attention, this is the best. So, yes, I'm very excited about this. So, now that we've established that Shem Elikim is just a level of, it's just one level of God Himself, just like Shem Havaya. In other words, they're not two external parts they're not two external systems. They're two internal. What did I write? Two internal tools. The ability to be infinite and the ability to be limited. They're both two internal tools that come from the source of everything. We can understand that how Elikim is not actually blocking Havaya. Until now we're saying the function of Havaya is to flow, and the function of Elikim is to stop that flow of light so that there can be something to be revealed. So he's saying, but if they both are internal tools from one source, then we understand that that Elikim is actually not blocking Havaya. Sharei, Efsher, she'etzem yaster aletzem. It's impossible for one essence to block itself. These are the lines I highlighted because they're just amazing. So too, just like a person cannot block himself. It speaks of there about a Yamakan. It says a person shouldn't walk Dalat Amis without his head covered, and it doesn't help to put your hand on your head because this all you can't cover yourself. Your hand can't cover you. It doesn't work. But if his friend puts his hand on his head, then it's okay because it's outside of him, covering him. So why isn't my hand good enough? Because if it's part of one entity, I can't conceal myself. I can't block myself from myself. Not tying back to God. We'll understand to Hashem that this name of God, which blocks things, it also comes from the infinite ultimate God, and it can't be blocking its own light. It can't block itself. Because one essence can cover itself. And this is why Havaya and Elikim are all one. They are both equally God. They're not opposites at all. Although it is the power of contracting and limiting, it's actually not doing that. It's not actually contracting or filtering or making anything less of this light al shem Havaya, on this function of Havaya, which is complete Gilui. So he leaves us with we still have to explain a whole bunch more. But we can now understand, until now we're thinking there are two different functions. One of them is Gilui, to reveal. The other one gets in the way, and therefore there's something for us to grasp. So they're completely two different functions. And he's saying, no, they're actually both from one source, just like in our own system. We can't possibly if I'm cold, I can't possibly shield myself with my arms. It doesn't, maybe a little bit, somehow, like the body warmth, but I'm not actually protecting myself. I'm not covering myself. I need an outside thing to cover me. Same thing with Havaya and Elikim. If they're both coming from God himself, that means that there's not actually a real concealment going on, even though it seems to us in order for us to experience God, he had to hide himself to give us something. He's not hiding anything because it's all him, and you can't hide from yourself. And that gives us so much to talk about, because on my first round of this, it was wait a second. So anytime I feel that I'm having a blockage, and I'm shut off somewhere, and I say, what is this shut off?
Right.
It's blocking me. It's not possible, because it's coming from my own system, and I can't block myself. So what the hell's going on here? And that's the rest of the Maimer is so what is it doing if it's not blocking? And I understand a part of revealing, Shem Elikim's function is to actually make something tangible, because if it's just unlimited, I have no access to it. So these blockages are trying to bring something through. So they're not at all a threat to my existence or to it's actually all coming from me. So what's happening? And I need to take a step back and just be okay, this isn't the enemy. I can't possibly be blocking myself. It's not possible.
is it's taking your unlimited self and it's trying to give you something.
Right. So if I have a thought and I want to know what it is, or I want to reveal it to someone else, it needs to go through a filtration. And sometimes it's to me myself. So
Wait, I'm still processing.
yeah, let's process.
Because my whole life I'm busy telling myself that I'm blocked. I'm blocked in this area, that area. And then blaming myself for blocking you because it's supposed to be clear, whatever. So, how can I view myself differently? Okay, so I know in my brain now that I can't block myself. So, what is it?
What is it?
What's a perspective to have on it?
More than perspective is really internalizing it, understanding. Because I thrive on my own blockages, and now he's taking it all away.
What do you thrive on them?
Meaning that I blame it a lot. I blame my blockages. It's my comfort zone to blame myself for all my blockages.
Right.
I hear it.
Like what does anyone want from me? I'm just blocked? It's like a defense mechanism?
More than that, I blame myself for it because I know that I have the power to unblock it and I didn't do it yet.
So what does it take away?
I don't know. I don't know what I was going to say.
Okay.
Basically, how can I, based on what you said, how can I,
I think I don't think we need to solve it all, but I think just knowing that as a fact, just get this whole new perspective on all the schmutz that happens to me or that I bring on is not a threat. It's all coming from this the same place where I feel really good and I just love being in, and this then is the same source of where I'm feeling blocked and blaming myself and guilty and whatever other stuff that I don't like. They're all coming from the same place. From my true self, from my essence, where everything is limitless and has no definition. From there comes things that feel good and look nice. From there come things that don't feel nice, but they're not a contradiction. They're all me, and they can't possibly be blocking or hurting me. So they have a function of some sort. And he'll explain what it is. I think we already know where he's going with it. It's a way of revealing. In order to reveal, there needs to be some type of filter system. Otherwise, we can't access it. So if we never had any blockages, we would never know that we need to dig a little
somewhere.
expansion. We know expansion.
Right.
Thank
So
you.
Go ahead.
That's why you introduced the thing with all of us is welcome here?
Yes. I really wanted to bring that in there. Thank you for reminding me that ability to sit and recognize that I don't need to change any of it because they're all friends here.
That automatically takes away the blame, no?
Yeah, still
Well,
processing.
It's meant to be hard.
Yeah.
That's it's fun because it's there to serve us in the way. Let's zoom out of our own system and go a little bit outside into a more global. When you understand this concept and really get back to God, you start to realize that everything in creation is really just one. We're really, really all connected in that way. That we're really all just from one thing with this whole bunch of I can only think this thing. It doesn't make sense in words. I'm sorry, I can't think in the words. But if you look at your friendships and your relationships, and you start to be like, oh, this guy, he's getting in my way. But understanding that it's not possible for him to get in my way, because we're all from one place. Then what's the point in this challenge? And I'm sure you have that experience where you worked through one of them, and then there was an expansion of or of your love or your relationship or your connection or something expanded. You brought the light to a new location. That without that friction and that challenge, then you're just stuck where you are right now. and sometimes that's just nice. But then when you're ready for the next level, so your Shem Alekim starts coming in and saying, let's get the ball rolling. So we'll throw in a little limitation, a little blockage, and then it's like, okay, here we go. So I do it. That's what it is. It's like I do it to myself. I create my own resistance. I create my own friction, so that I can now expand somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be it has to be real. So it does a really good job. So the more stuck you feel, you're doing a much better job actually at the potential for expansion. It's like everything, those people that like, everything's just, it's cool, it's just great.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have, the relationship is stunted. It's like, okay, now we go. And it's okay, because I'm sure with that, with me and that person, that's our relationship. But with someone else, maybe it does get deep. But there's certain relationships where like, they're just always cool, or like maybe I'm like that to someone. Oh, I'm just really, he's like, hey, this guy is never going to get anywhere. Because you need some, like, what do you mean everything's just cool? Like, you're not getting anywhere. Like, we need some bumps in the road, some moguls to make this ride a little bit fun. Like, where it's like everything's cool. Like, okay, great. So what's the difference between yesterday and today?
So bring it back to blockages and having guilt with blockages.
It's all me doing this to myself, because my true self says, I want more. I want more. How do I get more? I gotta throw huge boulders at myself. I need to throw huge rocks at myself that really, 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 really challenge me.
Mm-hmm.
So much that I think these things are my enemy, and I want to get rid of them so badly.
Right.
And then the day that it clicks, that like, oh, this is what they've been teaching me my whole life. That friction creates growth. Like, I start to recognize my friction as my friend.
Well, more than that is
yeah.
No, it's like the blockage is there, no matter what. Either you can fight it and wish it away, or you can allow it to just be, and allow the expansion to happen when it's ready.
Yeah.
So that's the technicalities of it. How do we like go through that process? But what's happening?
Well, when you understand that.
Yeah, but let's stay in the phase of just understanding it without like, okay, so how do we grow from it? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Let's just let that sink in really deep. That all this friction I caused to myself for a purpose.
For a reason, yeah. But why do some people...
And then how do I go through it? So like, okay, then we'll go to Mashki and
she'll help us get out of it.
give us then there's tools. No,
Yeah,
then there's
but
tools I
when
need
you
to...
understand,
yeah.
that's a good understanding of it. Like,
It's already a very... and knowing the issue is half the healing.
mm-hmm.
It's already like, okay, I can chill out for a second. I take a deep breath knowing that like, oh, I'm actually okay. Maybe I'm not like, I don't have a disorder. This is just actually healthy and like good for me. And I do it to myself because I want something. Like,
It's like a knock on the door. But why do some people do it more intensely than others? Like, I sometimes beg my body to please stop bringing on things. Just relax. Can you just have one normal day?
so everyone's got their mission and you don't actually know that you're doing it more than anyone else. That's your assumption. There's no like, and also for you it looks like this is the greatest thing, but like, and for someone else, like there's no hierarchy to pain. Some people can handle crazy stuff, and some people get a little pinch, and it's too much. Like, we don't really know, like, you know, and that's part. This is part of your true self. Who really, maybe that's another one of your things, you know, for you to reach a great understanding. I don't know. Like, I'm sure there's a great.
The potential for expansion. The potential for expansion is that much greater.
Right. Yeah.
In a way, so.
Yeah.
But to keep your eye on that is really difficult.
Right.
And that's not practical at all.
No, it is the healthy Alex is like, oh, my challenge is so great. That must mean I've
You
really,
have that
really
much more
great potential here.
Yeah, right. But
On a very, yeah. But then again, we can't compare. But it's not even comparison to anyone else. Just in your own, just to you. Like, oh, this is Really? I like mountain climbers and all these extreme. I like mountain climbers. Like these guys, they're in a different. There's a few of them that have like movies about them, and like, dude, when you see their personality is very similar. A lot of them, they're not like, I need people to watch me do this or whatever. Like, the TV comes after them. It's like, we need to make a film about you. I'm like, okay, they're like socially just different. They love nature. They love they climb walls thousands of feet high without a rope. There's no like margin for error. If you did it 99%, 99% means you died. There's no like, you have to do it 100%, and
I
that's.
think the end of a bunch of these movies is that they die.
They all die.
Almost.
Because
Eventually they all die.
Because that's how they live, by climbing a wall. Like, if they didn't climb the wall, they're dead already anyhow. So like the greater, like the thing is, like, it's not to be better than the other climbers. Like, they're really like kind of in that way very pneumistic. Like, there's one about this guy who just like was in the middle of a film and then he just disappeared, and he was dead somewhere. But like, he didn't tell them, I'm going, come with me, they're like, they kind of had a contract, we're doing this movie with you, and like, it just wasn't his thing. Like, I don't want anyone watching me, I just like to climb.
Are they suicidal? Like,
No, it's not at all.
But why do they track 1% margin of error? Isn't it like?
It's
I
like
don't know.
their life. It's like
They're not trying to die, but they need the thrill. I don't know like what their trauma is. Like, I don't know, but like they just, from kids, they just found their passion in this, and of course they like the risk factor. So I don't know their psychology, but it's just interesting.
And I guess they don't have like a family to.
No, some of them do.
Because I'm thinking, I love
Really?
mountain climbing, but who has time?
You love mountain climbing?
Yeah.
There's rock climbing here. Wow.
Just want to say this one story. There was a young man by the Rebbe Marash. He wasn't a great big scholar, but he would sit and learn. And he had, I don't know, it says he wasn't like a big scholar, but he had a strong knowledge in learning, and he was fluent in the Likutei Torah, which is pretty complex stuff, and Chassidus from the Mittler Rebbe, and he learned Mamarim from the Rebbe Marash. And before he went to do a business, I guess he left yeshiva and started to work, he asked the Rebbe Marash, with what can I go away? And the Rebbe Marash told him, take this principle in your hand. The defects, not defects, the chesronos, new chesronos. Not defect, I don't know. Okay, the defects you see in other people, you should know that they're by you, the same chesronos. The milas you see by other people, you should adopt them for yourself. The shita of the Baal Shem Tov of Hashgacha Pratis, that Hashem makes every person meet different people at different times. It's for a purpose, and everyone has to you need to learn from the people that you meet. And if you don't believe this, then you are a kafir, a heretic. I like to translate it as just a denier. You're denying in the way the world functions. That when you meet people and you see stuff in them, they act as a mirror for you, and it's a great opportunity to just learn from them about yourself. So this young man came afterwards to Lubavitch, and he said that this saved his life and put him on his feet. And I guess the Rebbe Rashab knew this person, and he went to their Marash and the Marash's grave, and he kissed the ground, this young man. And so I think that just like, I love the story. It's all there. So back to like zooming out from my own blockages of things. Like when I meet people and there's a block, what's that all about? Is it just to tell me, oh, there's nothing here, leave, go find someone else? Or this is caused to me for not to me, but for me. Like, this is happening for me, that I bump into someone that that I'm just judgmental to, or that I look at and say, oh, they've got serious issues. You're like, okay, so you're noticing some issues. Great, now I have homework. Lovely. Or I see something and I say, that person, I'll never be like that. He's so great. And it's like, actually, like, you can adopt those things and not be him, but that inside you there's the potential of what you see in him for you to make it yourself that way. And yeah, I guess this guy describes it as like it saved his life, because it really is. When you live that way, you're not in denial anymore of everything. Otherwise, you're a kaifer, not in like the scary sense of, you're a kaifer, oy gewalt, like not like that, but like you're living life in just denial. You walk around and think that like you project all your crap on everyone, and everyone else has issues, and anyone that's really great, you're like, they're really, really cool, and you start just want to like be next to them, but like it has nothing to do with you, because you're never going to make yourself great. And it's just, you're a kaifer. It's just a sad way to live. In my opinion.
The language is so harsh.
No, we see it as harsh, but when you start to like, when you,
Tyra and all this stuff,
I think if you,
it's just the literal words are so harsh.
that's why we're doing this shir. That's why we're doing this class. Mm-hmm. It's to break all of that like, kaifer, it's just a terrible thing. Yeah. There's nothing terrible about it if you're okay living in denial and just deflecting and projecting. If you want to live like that, in my opinion, you're pretty much dead anyhow. Like, they don't know, we're going to kill you if you're a kaifer. Like, you're dead anyhow. Like, you run around like you're just a body who doesn't absorb and doesn't like give off any light. So like, so that's a kaifer. Like, it's not this big scary thing. And that's it. And otherwise, if you believe in Hashgacha Pratis, then it's just happening all the time. You meet people constantly, and it's not by accident. And as you take that serious, you start to notice already an expansion. We're sitting here, we're a bunch of random people, but like we're open to like learn, and all of a sudden we're expanding, and we meet more people, and we learn more from more people, and it's just like the world starts to become, a cozy place where like we see the oneness in everything. And Hashgacha Pratis is not like when there's a miracle, I say, oh, Hashgacha Pratis, and when things don't work out for me, oh, God wasn't there today. Like, no, it's always Hashgacha Pratis, and there's always something that happens for me and not to me. L'chaim.